All right, Bruchim Aboyim, welcome everyone. Recently, I guess about 5 days ago, a Christian apologist on YouTube called Whaddo You Meme made a video stating why Christianity is unique among world religions. I did watch this video, so this is not a raw reaction video, but rather my responses to his claims.
The reason why most people think that Christianity is just like every other religion is because they don't know these three reasons that, when I discovered them, honestly, completely destroyed everything that I thought I knew about Christianity. You'll understand the first reason if you think about how every religion begins. They all essentially start the same. A prophet or a guru comes around with instructions to help you find your way to God. They all claim to be a messenger that's here to help point you to heaven and tell you the hard work that you have to do in order to find God or something like God. So in other words, the prophets are here to help you build a metaphorical ladder from you to God. But in Christianity, God saw the state that we were in, and he put on human flesh and came down from heaven in order to find and reach us. So to put it simply, every other religion has a prophet that essentially says, I'm here to show you the hard work that you can do in order to find and reach God. But in Christianity, God says, I did the hard work of building the ladder from heaven to earth so that way I could find and reach you. Now, though you'll...
Okay, so my response to that is, first of all, Judaism is unique in this way, much different than Christianity, and Christianity is not unique in that manner. Because the truth of the matter is Christianity is we could really point to Paul as being the prophet character who had an encounter all by himself on the road to Damascus in the book of Acts. And that experience is what started Christianity, because until that time, Christianity was really basically just a sect of Judaism. And they did not have really any of these ideas that Christianity has today. It was Paul who really changed everything. And Paul would be that character that would be the prophet that's coming down, giving a message to the people. And the message is this message that this apologist is offering. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that it's really any different than any of these other religions. Now let's look at Judaism, on the other hand. Judaism is not about one prophet who came along and said that he has a message for the people, but rather God revealed himself in front of millions of people. The entire nation became prophet, which is the totally unique claim of Judaism that no other religion claims. We can find in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4. If we start with chapter 4, verse 32, please ask for the earlier days, asher hayu lefanecha, that were before you. I'd like to use maybe a different translation, so I'm just going to translate it myself. Lamin hayom asher bara Elokim adam al haaretz, from the day that God created man or Adam on the earth, from one end of the heaven to the other end of the heaven. Haniya kadavar gadol azer nishma kamohu. Did such a great thing ever happen, or was such a thing ever heard? This translation is really not very good. Hashama'am kol Elokim medaber mitocha eish kasher shemato tov vayechi. Did any people ever hear the word of God's voice speaking from within the fires you heard and lived and survived? And God sent his angel for the miracles that he performed to be revealed. Did any God ever miraculously come and take for himself a nation within a nation through tests with signs and with wonders, and through warfare and with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great displays, entirely as the Lord your God did for you in Egypt in front of your eyes? You have been shown to know that the Lord, he is God. There's nothing else but him. From the From the heaven he made audible the word of his voice to teach you. On earth he showed you the great fire, and you heard his words from within the fire. Meaning to say that the unique nature of both the Exodus and the revelation at Sinai it wasn't just like you see in the movies, Moses went up to the mountain and brought down the Ten Commandments, but rather the entire people heard the voice of God. The entire nation were prophets. There were more people who heard God at Mount Sinai than whoever met George Washington in his life. If you believe George Washington was a real person historically, then Efi or Teori, Kal v'chomer, all the more so, you have to believe that the Exodus and the revelation at Sinai happened, because for thousands of years nobody ever doubted it. This was something that was accepted by Jews, by Christians, by Muslims. Other religions did not question that such a thing happened. Everyone accepted that this was a true historical event. It was only in the last maybe 150 or 200 years that people started to doubt that it was a historical event. But for the most part, the most educated people, the scientists, everyone agreed and knew, all historians, all scientists knew, that the revelation at Sinai was an actual historical event, and it meets really any historical basis that any other religion claims. But all the more so, the biggest issue from an apologetic point of view is that Moses says, did anything like this ever happen? Oy hanishma kamohu, or do you even ever hear of such a thing? Meaning to say, this is the greatest claim that any religion can make, that the entire nation heard God, as opposed to just Paul by himself on the road to Damascus, or Muhammad by himself in the cave saying he heard from an angel, not from God directly, for the most part, although certain parts of the Quran he did claim to hear from Allah directly. Joseph Smith on Hilkamora finding the gold plates, an angel, Moroni, who said he was a human being at one point in ancient history, coming and claiming this revelation, as opposed to a national revelation. Nobody else ever made this claim that an entire nation should hear the voice of God and live. There is actually one Hindu story that the entire large group heard one of the Hindu deities speaking, but they all died in that story. So it seems that God must have told Moses enough to know that even this truth, that one claim would be made, so to speak, or to cover the basis for that claim, that entire nation heard a divine being, but they all died in that narrative. And that story was also not told as eyewitnesses. This is being presented as an eyewitness account. I understand that there are scholars today, mostly anti-Semitic scholars, and I use that term advisedly because all of the ideology of higher biblical criticism of the documentary hypothesis pretty much come from Germany, where they developed the racial theory of Jewish identity. I don't really like to use the word anti-Semitism. I prefer, Judeophobia. If they talk about Islamophobia, we should speak about Judeophobia, that there is hatred against the Jewish faith. That to me is much more troubling than some, racist nonsense. It's just the whole idea of Semitism and anti-Semitism is something that I reject. But in any event, that is what we see here is the totally unique idea of Judaism that's totally different than any other religion. And with that being said, the other claim that he's saying is that no other religion had their God come in human flesh. Now, there is a distinction with Christianity as it's presented today, but nonetheless, every pagan religion believed that their divine beings came down in human form. The Hindus, said that their little g gods would come in various avatars. The ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, the ancient Norse pagans, all these different pagan groups, all believed that their gods would come and walk among them. The difference with Christianity, to be fair, would be the claim that Nicene Christians make, so little o Orthodox, which include the big O Orthodox, is that the actual creator, the first cause, came in human flesh form. But nonetheless, the claim is still not unique, and not only that, but there are various forms of Christianity, most of which went extinct, but some came back in restorationist forms, whether it be Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or others, that did not understand Jesus to be the creator, but rather a different type of divine being. The Jehovah's Witnesses believe Jesus was the Archangel Michael. The Mormons believe that he was a being that was the son of the Heavenly Father, but nonetheless, so he was a God, but not the Creator God. And these were ideas that existed in earlier forms of Christianity. Certainly, the idea of the Messiah being an angelic being is an idea that could be found in certain Jewish texts. It's not widely accepted today. Generally, it's understood that the Messiah would just be a normal human being. But there are kosher Jewish beliefs that the eventual Messiah will come down as some sort of an angelic soul, perhaps born of human flesh, to a regular father and mother, but nonetheless have some kind of an elevated angelic type of a soul, perhaps the angel Metatron, who could be the same as Archangel Michael, coming down into a human form. So that is probably where that idea originated from, and then got corrupted later in the church. Nonetheless, there's no way for us to know, and I'm a big fan of tradition. So I do strongly say if someone is going to believe in Christianity and in Jesus, really the only way to do it is through the traditional churches that have an apostolic succession. Otherwise, you're just making it up on your own. Just trying to reconstruct something from historical means is just making something out of nothing. And so too in Judaism, we have our Masorah, which would be somewhat an equivalent of apostolic succession. And so again, those who try to create some kind of a sola scriptura based type of Judaism, just like a sola scriptura based Christianity, really have nothing to stand on, because in the end, how do you even know how to read if nobody taught you how to read? You need to have traditions. And I would go as far as to say, even though within the Christian Bible, Jesus was quoted as saying, and I have my doubts as to any historicity to anything that's presented in the books that the Christians added to the Bible. But nonetheless, he's quoted as saying, not to put emphasis on the traditions of man, but the same Jesus also said he describes in Pharisees, for they sit in the seat of Moses, and if your righteousness does not exceed the scribes and the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you're the least in the kingdom of heaven. So the actual teachings of Jesus affirmed Judaism. All they were saying was, don't put extra emphasis, which is the same thing that we are taught. Rabbinical law is not the same as biblical law. And so, when you have a doubt in a rabbinical law, we are lenient. In a doubt in a biblical law, we are strict. That's how Judaism works. That's basically what Jesus was saying when he said to not place the one idea about, the question that he would eat with people who didn't wash Nagelwasser. He didn't wash Natil Sidayim, didn't wash their hands before they ate. He didn't say he doesn't wash his hands. He was just saying he's trying to makar of those people. He's trying to get people who are far away from God. So he's trying to bring them close to God and teach them the ways of God. He wasn't saying you shouldn't wash your hands before you eat. He's just saying when you're trying to bring people close, you have to pick your battles. That's all he was saying. because otherwise it would be a contradiction to that which he said, or at least again which he's quoted in Matthew saying. I doubt any of it is authentic. But we're saying Lishita Sam, according to their traditions. That's what you really have there. And so, with all that being said, now also this there's other things that this apologist is talking about in the video, but I think these are the strongest issues that we have to correct. And again, I'm not here to put down anybody else's Christianity. If someone wants to be a Christian and that's their tradition, I'm very supportive of it, because Christianity in the end has brought the messages of Torah to the world. This is what Rav Yaakov Emden taught, and the same thing is true of Islam. So I'm not trying to destroy anybody's Christian faith or practices, even if they're Protestant, even if they choose to be Reconstructionist, Protestant, whatever it is. That's their business, because it brings them to God. It gives them a relationship with God. It makes them better people. It makes them moral and ethical. Part of one of the things that this same apologist is going to bring up is that all these other religions expect you to be good to go to heaven, whereas Christianity was bringing heaven to earth. So again, when God came down, he was bringing heaven to earth. Hasidic Judaism is certainly bringing heaven to earth, making this earth more heavenly. As far as the parable that's often told about the Baal Shem Tov, that the earlier mystics taught people about God, but the Baal Shem Tov brought God to the people, and people can have those experiences, which again, anybody in any religion can have those experiences. But this claim that Christianity is somehow different than other religions, for those two reasons that's brought. One, that every other religion just has a prophet who presented a way to heaven. That's not how Judaism is. Moses was not that prophet until the people asked him to be. But initially, all the people received that, and that's where Moses got his authority from, was because all the people saw God, and they were shown to know that the Lord is God, and that there's no other God but the Almighty Creator. And again, this is all in the Christian Bible too. They have our Bible and their Bible too. There's nothing in there that they would disagree with here. It's clear, if they read their Bible, that God spoke to the entire people, not just to Moses. At least at some point, the entire people had this experience of God, and it wasn't just Moses up on the mountain bringing down a message, but the whole people heard it, and then when they couldn't handle that, then they asked Moses to be that person forever, to be that lawgiver. But it's not like, again, with no disrespect to Islam, no disrespect to Mormonism or any other religion, but it's not that just Moses was by himself, and then the authority of all later prophets was based on that Torah. And so if a prophet taught to violate the Torah, they're a false prophet. And if and really the job of all the future prophets was to uphold the Torah. And that's really just all it is. So we're taught, if the Torah wasn't if we didn't sin, we wouldn't need any more books of the Bible. I have someone coming in now, so I have to end this video, but thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you all later.